So I'm just going to start trying stuff. I'm going to bring up a layer and I'm going to start defringing. Let's set up a color map. Remember, new layer, Shift F5, 50% gray. Right, we're going to keep this outside the mask because we want to see. Maybe I should keep it inside the mask. This is a good question. I don't know what's going to work best, but let's try that. I'm going to set that to luminosity. Okay, you can already see that kind of working. Hue saturation. Oh, delete that layer mask. I'm going to crank the saturation up. So you can see the fringing in here. It's blue, and the rest of the stuff is green. And over here, it's kind of green and dull, and the rest is red. Let's see if we bring up a 50% gray layer out here, or roughly. I mean, maybe that helps a little bit. Yeah, because it looks like the fringing is kind of purple here when we're using our color map to view it. Yeah, I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to try to just start getting some of this fringing to go away. I'm probably going to have a big defringe group. So I'm just going to put it into a layer group right now. So notice I didn't set this to color this time because in this case, because it was on a black background, I'm not only dealing with color, I'm also dealing with value. So that's why I'm keeping this on normal. So this is a good thing to keep in mind too, because on the image that we did that had that really curly hair, that was a pretty easy knockout. We were just really basically dealing with color, and we were dealing with a whole different level of saturation. So this color map really, really worked well in that situation. It may or may not work for us here. You just have to check it out and make that decision. I think it's actually distracting me because we're working with such a high chroma image. I'm going to bring the opacity up a bit. I mean, this seems to be working pretty good. It's really helpful that I'm working on this area that is out of focus. I'm able to get away with quite a lot in here. Because I know if there's hair detail that I need to preserve, I'm going to have to probably change my technique and use a much smaller brush so that I'm able to get some strands. Even in here, it seems like, yeah, this is some tough stuff in here. I'm just gonna, and I'm sampling colors from inside because, you know, where it gets darker, it gets kind of green, but you can already see I'm like really clumping up right here. This is really, really tough defringing. I'm gonna take the, turn the mask on and off just to see what's in there. Yeah, so I'm just gonna keep going and so I mean you can see it's looking kind of brushy in here. It's looking a little too soft. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to fix that. I mean, on the edges out here, it's looking pretty good, but in the interior, it looks pretty weird. What I want to do now is not work within the mask. I want to bring a layer up above, and I want to paint some more detail in because I don't want to have to worry about the mask. Okay, still on my brush. I'm gonna go smaller. I'm gonna go like 80% and see if I can just make some detail in here. Because it's, all the details just so bad. Might even go down to like 40% because these are like really out of focus hairs. I mean, if nothing else, at least I can just create something that looks somewhat realistic and just distracts the viewer from focusing in on this area. I'm gonna sample a brighter color. So this is starting to kind of blend that area a bit more. It might be acceptable. I mean, a lot of times this is just total guesswork. So what I'm gonna do is blur this a bit, blur it down. Might be able to get away with that. I'm gonna set that as a selection. I'm gonna add it to the mask. Show you. So it's a little bit more hair detail in there. And then I'm gonna take what I painted and bring it in so it's inside the mask, right? So not only did I use that to adjust the mask, I also brought it inside so it's pixel information inside our mask now. So yeah, something I noticed too that's worth mentioning is when I'm working with hair that is just crazy like this and I don't really know what my plan of attack is, I get pretty panicky right off the bat, and I feel like, oh shit, this is like never gonna go. And the thing I have to keep reminding myself is just get in there and start working on it, because so much working on hair is warming up. You have to get warmed up, and I'm starting to feel like a little bit more warm now, like in terms of my hand and just like my conceptual or my strategic approach to how to deal with some of these areas. So I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable. The panic's kind of died down. Just recognize that sometimes it feels like there's no way this is going to work, and you just got to get your hands dirty and figure it out. You can go ahead and add details like little chunks and stuff, and it can even be darker detail, lighter details. Just get comfortable with painting into the pixels while sort of looking at the pixels and trying to figure out what it is that they're doing, like wrapping your head around what the color system is in the area that you're painting. And once you become familiar with it, like the colors that you're trying to sample, now I know is like, oh, I know green is kind of my base color, and then white is what happens on top of it. And I get a little bit more comfortable with how big my brush should be. I can even go into the mask itself and kind of soften some of the mask edges that happened in there. And notice I'm also doing this process of painting above the mask, setting a selection from what I painted, going on the mask itself, filling with white, so I'm adding those areas to the mask. And then dropping that layer inside the mask. you know, when I was saying I don't have a roadmap, that's actually total workflow right there. That's something that I constantly return to. So in this case, I'm going to do that tons of times. And it's a little bit non-destructive too. When I get to a point where I've painted enough to be happy with what I've got, I'm going to set that layer up, do the mask, move it inside, and move on to the next one. So it's somewhat non-destructive in that sense. Yeah, it's pretty crispy in there on the mask, so I'm gonna soften that up a bit. Yeah, you can use the blur tool or the smudge tool. I use them interchangeably. I like the smudge tool a lot because I can sort of visually control the amount of smudge that's happening. And I can move stuff. I can move the mask in the direction that I want. I really don't like this clump that's happening here. So, and I don't like these flyaways either. So I'm going to move into a different technique that we practice, which is just basically, you know, eliminate with extreme prejudice. It's like, I don't want to spend the time to mess with you. So I'm just going to eliminate the things I don't want to spend the brain power messing with and remake them. I'm going to make them myself. Remember, you're not stuck with the edge you're given. You make the edge you want. God, this is just all garbage in here. You know what I'm noticing? This is an important learning moment here. I'm going to go back to my info palette. Look at my values. Oh, that's not black. It's 98%. That's black. You see, watch this value here. So I didn't completely key out my mask to black. There's 2 points of gray in there. And the reason that I can see that, I'll leave my mask. You may or may not be able to see this, but right where I was painting out with black, there's an edge. So why don't I'm going to set a eyedropper here. Let's find a place where that is 98. There we go. 98. I'm going to bring up a curve on the mask, and I'm going to hit that black point, and I'm just going to move it until it gets to 100. There we go. Okay. Mask should be keyed in, but it'd be worthwhile mousing around in there to make sure everything's 100% black, because that's such a common error. It's really hard to catch. But your client will come back and say, well, there's like a weird edge in the background that you didn't see because you've been staring at it for 16 hours and it's burned into your mind. So remember that trick. Check your mask. Look at the values. You hold down Shift and Option to cut eyedroppers out of the mix. I'm going to continue cleaning this edge. I don't know, I might keep this. I definitely don't like that. Whew, this is a mess up here. See what happens. I'm gonna deal with that when I get to it. Let's see, you gotta back up sometimes too. It's like, do I want this strand? Do I care about this flyaway group here? Maybe I don't. Maybe I just wanna make my own. Let's give it a try, I don't know. I'm gonna go down to that small brush size. So you remember the process that we do here when we're starting to paint in more hair is make a swipe, see if it looks good. That looks a little small. That looks a little big. Yeah, I'd kind of go for that size. So and here, you know, you can sample different colors. I might even set it at a lower opacity. Trying to connect with some of the strands that are in there. And if you want to do this really well, you can bring up your smoothing to like 50, and that way you can move more slowly and get a smooth line. It's kind of nice actually to work like this because it's a little tricky when you're trying to move really fast to do this. But if you need to line up with existing hair information, it can be really nice. So this is looking like a long road, but as long as I just keep putting one foot in front of the other and just pivoting to a new technique whenever I see it come up. Now I know I got these techniques in my mind, and when I run up against something, I know I'm going to switch off and not bang my head against the wall trying to, like, once again, fix pixels that I don't like. So you're going to see me switch back and forth the whole rest of the silhouette of this. So I'm just going to keep going, try to move fast, not get too hung up with worrying about ultimate perfection, because this stuff all takes a couple of passes, and I'm going to have to come back through and fix anything that I might not have executed perfectly. But like I always say, try to work macro to micro, get the big picture done and in there. And as long as you've set it up right, you can come back in later and make adjustments. So what I just did there, I was having a hard time seeing my cursor on this bright background. So what I did was I hit caps lock and it changed it to the crosshairs. This is another thing to remember if it can be super frustrating if you're not used to this. If you come in and your tool is set to the crosshair and you can't see the brush size, it's because caps lock is on. So I deliberately switched the crosshairs so I could see my cursor a little bit better. So, all right, I'm going to execute on these things that I just painted. So that's a way different focus to what was actually in there, so we need to fix that. Just take a look at the original, see what's up. Let's commit these. I'm going to start with the bottom one, turn these guys off, fill the mask with white. There's all this garbage in there now. And I'm going to bring my defringe layer inside. And I'm going to use blur on the mask. Remember, caps lock is on. Turn that off so I can see the brush size. Okay, I'm going to mellow that out by blurring it a bit. Thing that might work here too is smudge tool, so I can push that in. That's nice to be able to do that. So yeah, having this on the outside really kind of covered these areas up quite a bit more. See how once I move it inside the mask, I'm getting a little bit more fringe here. See if I can just duplicate that layer up. It just makes it a little bit more opaque. And then I can go in, I'm gonna bring back some of the hair details in here. I'm gonna stamp those down. In this process, if you're trying to label every single layer that you create, you're gonna really blow out your timeline. It's gonna just take so much time. I really just cruise with this. I mean, I always say label your layers, keep them well organized, but sometimes you just gotta be working fast and not interrupt your flow. Delete that selection, bring that defringe in there, duplicate that up so it fills in a bit. Command E to stamp down, messing with the mask a little bit. I'm gonna burn these flyaways a bit. Add a little bit of real to the mix. Step back for a minute. Let's turn off our defringe. Turn back on. I mean, that's pretty good progress right there. We're maybe a quarter of the way done. I mean, you can really get a sense now how long this takes me. So you could sit back and actually, you can look at how far you're into this video right now, and kind of calculate when I started on the defringing and how far I'm at now. You can, at the end, you can look at the whole thing, but I'm doing a lot of talking too. The reason that I say this is because when you're on a real client job and you have to estimate how long things are going to take, this is hard for me to estimate, but I've gotten good at it because I work in a way that I can track my timing. You have to be able to estimate, A, to know when you're going to be able to get this done, and B, how you're going to charge for this work, right? A client goes, how much do you need? How much would you charge to do this? And if you're like, I don't know, $10, and then you're like, it's actually an 8-hour job, or it's actually 4 hours just to do the hair. That's really important for you to be able to keep track of for real commercial work. It's really important. And in addition to that, breaking it down like this into individual steps and giving those time allotments will really help you estimate and be able to charge an accurate rate and know when you're going to be able to get something done and ship first round to your client. So keep that in mind. I think it's really good to get good at that, to know how long it takes you to do stuff. Yeah, so remember to start, I'm paying attention to where I'm sampling from. Now the color's starting to change, right? We've got all these. I have to somehow pull this off so this looks like it's underneath some hair that's going over the top of it. So it's like I guess I don't have to. I'm going to sorry, I'm babbling a bit, but this is like kind of the real process when you're doing this. You're just trying to think of all these different solutions for problems on the fly. And keep in mind too, this is a good thing to, I think, to point out right now, I mean, you see how far I'm zoomed in. This is basically molecular retouching, I like to call it. You know, we're way in here, and this is, you know, you might be zoomed out and you're like, Seth, dude, it's pretty much fine. You know, like, why don't we just defringe this over here with a big brush? It'll be fine. Let's get on the creative. I mean, this is a context for what high-end commercial work is your client, many clients will expect it to be this level down to the actual molecules, you know, the individual hairs of the head. They expect that level of finish. And that's why I'm showing you this incredibly high level finish. So you know it when you need it, and you're able to scale that back for whatever job you have in front of you. If it's a web job or something like that for web banners, there's no way you're going to do this level of stuff. But some of these things can be used at a really quick level. So you know all the tools now that you need to get it done at the highest. Use it any way you want. I kind of want to redo all this now. Now that I've been painting and I'm able to get pretty nice edges. Let's see how it goes. I'm going to rebuild this section right here and see if I can live with the quality of some of this. I think I need to remove some of these big bulges on the end of these hairs that were caused by highlights. Once we get into here, I think this looks nice. It just needs some defringing, and then defringing down here. So, I mean, we're moving at a pretty good click for the job that we have to do. But the decision of what to keep and what to throw away can be tough. All right. Let's check the mask too, because sometimes when I'm painting out like that, I miss chunks. So take a look at the mask. And I think I'm going to bring this all to white. All right, that's a good base. See what 3 pixels looks like. I'm going to put caps lock back on so you can see my cursor a little bit better. Oop, I'm working on the mask. Need to be working on the layer above. I'm going to make these dark strokes kind of connect with what's in the hair down here, you see. Now, I think a lot of people, when they hear, oh, you got to paint the hair, they're like, paint the hair? What are you talking about? Like, I don't paint, you know, I don't draw. You can hear by the way that my hand is moving, this is not like Rembrandt, you know, this is not like creative painting. This is more like sculpting than anything. And it's just a mechanical process, really. And you can see this just slowly emerge. You know, I think that's the leap of faith that a lot of people don't take, is trusting that if they just take the rendering completely into their own hands and they just keep following the same process of sculpting the hair and just putting it in there, that they're going to end up with a good finished product. And it always works somehow. Soften that a bit. It's pretty amazing. You soften it, it looks like real hair. It's crazy. So Okay, I'm going to commit these masks. Put those in my defringe stack. So it looks all right. I'm going to do a little bit of additional defringing up here. Just sample a lighter color. Lower opacity. Get those. They're just looking a little bit dark on the edge there. I'm going to burn the mask a little bit here just to reduce the exposure because I don't want to burn it too bad. There we go. Yeah, geez, everything kind of points to eliminating these. I could go in here and try to use a lighter color and defringe them. You know what? Actually, that kind of works. It's worth checking these things out. So just by defringing those with a color that's close, they worked, and it kind of appeared to compress the width of the strand too, which is what I wanted. And I might even be able to burn these a little bit. And that kind of chunks them up. Here, I'll try, this is one more technique because I can't really burn these at all because they're really quite crisp. So I'm gonna soften them just a bit and then burn them. So that will compress them a little bit more. I don't know, I still don't like those. So right, remember I'm turning this because my hand does the smoothest brush strokes in a certain direction, you know, which is aligned to the way that, you know, I'm right-handed, and therefore swooping this way gives me the best curves. If I swoop this way, it's awkward. I have to move my whole arm. If I'm swooping this way, just moving my wrist. So pay attention to that, figure out what works. I think I'm almost to the end of the heavy hair edge rebuilding work. I just want to take these big chunks out. Because I like the rest of this hair in here and the beautiful ways that it's moving. These are a little coarse for me, a little thick. A couple edges here, but once we get down to this area, I might have to do some work in here. Once we get down here, we're kind of home free, and it's just going to be defringing some of this stuff. I'm going to delete that, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So in here, where I need to preserve hair detail, I can't use a super soft brush, so I'm going to use a small brush to actually defringe. That's very important because you come in here with a big brush and you're going to see all the soft brushiness because this stuff's in focus. So I need to be able to use a brush that's small to add detail that kind of looks like it is just more strands. Out here I can use a bigger brush. But you see right there it started to look a little bit soft. I'm going to use a lighter color, really small brush. All right, I definitely want this to end soon, and it looks like it's going to. I think once I start getting into here, this area where the hair is much more out of focus, I can start using a much bigger brush. I think this area here was pretty much the hardest area that I encountered to do defringing. It could, you know, and I'm gonna zoom back out, and there's still stuff that I could keep noodling with for a long time probably, but I want to, you know, stress the point of keep good momentum, keep going, keep pushing forward, get everything to a consistent degree of finish. It's that inconsistent degree of finish, you know, that the novice might do using a lot of different techniques that starts to really look like, you know, you can recognize that. But one of the hallmarks of a successful retouch is having a consistent finish, and lots of times you can get away with some stuff if it's just, you know, consistent. It may not be, you know, molecularly perfect, but just get a consistency, and that's a really, really good place to be. It's a weird part of the mask. I'm going to adjust that. All right, man. I think we made it. That's pretty crazy. Now, it probably seems like a miracle we made it through to the end, because in the beginning this looks like a daunting task, but like I said, if you keep just putting one foot in front of the next, you can get to the end. There might be some commercial situations where it's necessary to do even more refinement of this mask and the defringing, as insane as that might sound. But for what we're doing here, this is awesome. And I'm ready to step away, take a break, get a cup of coffee, get my head straight so I can come back in and just have fun doing some creative work with color and this hair.